Hi, Kathy Vick, deeply awake, and I'm just being flooded with information. And I just gave I gave a talk on psychosis and enlightenment, and then I gave a talk on generational wave theory. Yummy. But and then I wanted to explain the vision that led to this desire to channel, because I thought that was appropriate, but I don't think it is. So I'm just going to let them dive in because they want to talk about reality creation, and it has to do. And then the phone rang, and it was good, but we need to start again and do it differently. So there you go. There had to be a phone call. So it's nice to let the wild horses run, get it out of your system, la 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 la. But now we're going to come and explain about some things. So that's what this is about, okay? Okay. Yes. And so we wish to once again explain about the accent. First of all, this is the voice that this one had when she went to get the instruction, okay? It is a very familiar voice, and it's modulated to have, we've always encouraged anyone who wants to listen to it will hear many dialects and many things coming through, because it is an amalgam, and it is something that is very, it's captable, and for delivery of this information, and plus this is important for her to, or it was, it may become less so. It was important to have a wall, so to speak, so that she would not feel she was going crazy. So that was the idea, because with no way to prove some of this, it would come into physical reality as hers, with the seeming directive that she would have to enact it or make it real or whatever, when indeed it was just information. And so, and if it's instruction, and it's understood better and followed, if there is some distance, then it's fine. The other is okay with distance. There are some things that we can say, because we believe established ourselves as having perhaps a higher perspective, and this will give us with those who can discern the ability and the authority to say some things about the human condition that, if she were to say, would be inappropriate and might allow people to personalize. This has already occurred from time to time when she is actually pounding out these ideas of right and wrong and all this stuff, and so it can be easily personalized, so that's not a good thing. It's not helpful, and so it is fine to have this. And if you want to call it a device, that's fine. She has from time to time, and understands it is so to some degree, but it is entirely appropriate and necessary at this time, and soothing. So, and we would say that we can use the voice in a way that she is not able to. We understand how to deliver things that in vibratory terms that we had opened her up a little bit before, and so it's just something that we can use the instrument in a way that she cannot see. It's just like that, and it's also a bath for the endocrine system, and it's good. It's a good thing. It's a very helpful thing. It helps neurologically as well, and it helps with the much. So we want to talk about reality construction and the threefold path, okay? And we don't like anything that has anything to do with linear anything, and so for us to say threefold, well, there must be a reason for it, and there is, and it's dimensional, and you cannot argue with the dimensions. You can work with them. But if you want to argue with them, will you be arguing for a very long time? Because there are some things that touch us that way. And it's better to just learn to understand this and accept it. And perhaps even bring within you the thing that requires you to argue with the obvious. And so, dimensions, yes. There is a threefold path, and it's a very complicated thing. Those who are not energetically aware may not understand this next path, and that's fine. You don't have to. But those who walk this path, isn't it helpful to have someone explain what it is that you have been struggling with, and coming to terms with, certainly, learning to work with. Oh, my, yes. But perhaps without language, okay? So, the threefold path. There is the path of complete enlightenment, of surrender to spin, of knowing self as geometry, color, and sound. This is part of the path, highly abstract. The one truth, the only truth. Being able to not only glimpse it, but to have long conversations with it. Well, that's lovely. And we say people can become so pure, then yes, you can look into their eyes and see such things that you are never the same. There will always be those on this planet like that, holding this kind of energy, so mighty, so gentle. That is one path. And the words that come from people like this, well, they are beautiful. And they are used as templates for a better way. Look at Yogananda. Look at Buddha. Look at Jesus. Oh, religions. Oh. They all speak of this as being what we're going for here. And some religions, they say that you may only reach this state after you die. And so it becomes a manual as to how to live to avoid a badness once it's happened. But how can it be bad? It's supposed to be really good. There's another way, you know. And this is the way of the senses. It is the way of disconnection, because the senses, unfortunately, are not tending to Mother Earth. That's the only requirement. There is disconnection from Mother Earth, from cycles and circles. Yes, there are calendars, and there is linear time, and there are goals to be met, achievements to be made, and people to satisfy. And this is a consciousness which creates great disturbance, and in the end, mental illness. But along the way, mental illness vis-a-vis, you know, the First Nation, the indigenous of the land of the America. Well, you know, there used to be many million. It was, 60 million? And now there's less than 1 million. And that's something that these great people, that at this point looks more like a drunk walking around staggering, saying, I'm the greatest. No, actually you're not, and you haven't been. And we've let a lot of things slide. But it's time to have a little come to Henry meeting, we think. So it's just a little bit, oh my, this isn't going to work. And the question among humanity, well, are we strong enough? Are we smart enough? Are we well equipped? Are we well financed enough? Oh, it's so big, and we're so little. Well, of course. Yes. So, the path we are talking about is the path where your physical survival depends on pleasing someone or completing a task that you are in argument with, and living a life that you know you're supposed to be really happy about, but you are not. But because it's important to please others, you go ahead and live this life. And because you are of service, and because it's a good thing to do, and all of this stuff, vis-a-vis, in this instance, the nursing. And plus, it's a very good thing to do. It's your pursuit, it's your life. But it's the first path. Why are we talking about it in past terms? Many people have very, very lovely lives, simply going from point A to point B and loving along the way. They are the masters. They are the ones who provide relief for the explorers and the seekers, those who become abstracted. Yes. So the first way that we describe, we call this the higher way, the abstract way. And we call the second way we describe the way of the senses. What we say within this sensory experience is sensuality, not sexuality, sensuality. And it is a blossoming of spirituality within the senses. It can be done anywhere. However, we are describing, for the most part, a consciousness that is anchored in the senses and will not tolerate, cannot tolerate but one explanation for things. Alright? It's a way. Do you see examples of this? Do you know of someone who must always be right? And this it creates a sense of survival panic if you question the take or the authority. They can be quite heavy-handed indeed. They are scared. And then there is this middle way. And this way is not an easy way, or at least it wasn't at first. But we are showing her. At first there was the three, and the middle way was hard to understand, and it matches the feeling that she's having about the eclipses. And much of this information is correlating with the vision she has had about reality creation and the eclipses. Periods of time which were blocked out, and then periods of time which are glowing but empty. What is this about, she say? Well, what it is about is that placeholders have been removed. How you used to spend your time is a placeholder at times. Not always. The stuff that you do with your time that feeds your soul, that's not a placeholder. The stuff that you do with your time where you're in full argument or disagreeing, well, that is a placeholder. If the placeholder is removed, what does that imply? It implies something else is coming. And it's all lit up pretty with white. What does that imply? It's probably pretty good. And it's just empty there. It's just white. Light, beaming. What does that imply? You don't need to know about it, she say. And we say, yes, you're right. You don't need to know about it. You need to know that your way is lit up in white light. Isn't that enough? And that some other things that you are doing, you won't be doing anymore. Or as much, or whatever. Whatever. It means good things are coming. Do you think that she would say this out loud if she knew that the whole of humanity is suffering and they're never going to feel any better? No, she would not. It is released because she knows people are walking out of very, very strong prisons all across the land. Isn't that nice? So this is what we say about the reality creation. The middle way. It's not an easy path at first. We said that, didn't we? What do we mean by that? The middle way implies, does it not, you must be aware of both. And of course, because it is dimensional, the person who is up there saying, oh, a fly is not a fly, it is atoms. That person who can blow you away over your Cheerios, that one, well, that one can embody all three states. You see, that one came from the one who doesn't understand anything and bumps into walls all the time. Got it? There was a seed, then there was a sapling, and then there was a big oak. Got it? Okay. Alright, that's another way of looking at this, yes? When you look at a sapling tree, there's a different set of thoughts that you have than when you look at a big old sequoia, don't you think? Oh, that's beautiful life, and in the very long time it will be a tree that's beautiful. And then a sequoia, well, you know, you have other thoughts about that, don't you? And they hold immense power, immense, ancient whale power. They are the whales of the land, you know. The whales of the land. Moving in big old Merkabas, as always. Grounding the grids rather than running them, rather than weaving them. Isn't that pretty? Oh. And so what we are saying is that this middle path, it means, you know, if you're on the higher path, you don't have to be really thinking about your bills, do you? I mean, at a certain point, people around you say, well, we should probably just protect this somehow. And what we must say is that there comes a certain point and your needs are met. Okay, that's how it works. So it's just not an issue anymore. But the life is devoted to holding the vibration and the frequency. And anything can happen to them, they're fine. But, you know, the idea becomes to be a generator and your own kind of solid state unit beaming out. And there are people like this all over the globe right now. There's, you know, they congregate certain places, but for the most part they're all alone. But the middle path, well, the middle path, it means having the consciousness, the abilities, and the plasticity that would allow easy movement from one state to another and complete immersion in that state. And so that means being able to access the higher realms and communicate them, translate them physically. But it also means having the ability to believe any kind of sensate information and take it on and work with it. And so, yes, this is what has been done by a generation, we would say, by a generation, by many generations actually, each generation. And so now we have this place of a meld with the human being in the band of people who are a bit more sensitive to innate information and just more respectful in body habits and behavior. Perhaps not respectful is the correct word, but balanced. And if you put the generations in bands, you will see that they correlate much like a rainbow, or like a continuum, or we would like to say more like dimensions stacked on top of each other. 0 to 20-year-olds, 20 to 40-year-olds, 40 to 60-year-olds, 60 to 80-year-olds, 80 to 100 year olds, different sets of problems, different directives, different agreement fields, different pursuits, different celestial triggers, different astrological directives, and moving through this energy, different energetic signatures. And it just kept loosening up. Yes, that's all. So no one's done anything wrong. The idea behind ascension is that there are always the forerunners, the ones who agree to come in and bust things, and to hold light, and to do it as consciously as possible, and to move things, to move things, to move things. And then there comes a time when things are moving, and that person, those people, can begin to unwind and relax. They don't have to move quite so much. They've become accustomed to a high pace of movement, getting to those high levels, the amount of energy and work it takes to get there. Now everyone is moving. It's like an ice flow. Well, once you got the water underneath, sooner or later, that iceberg is just going to loosen and glide. Okay? So this is what we wanted to say about reality creation. When it comes to living and being within the third path, you must get comfortable with having a wide path, with having much freedom of expression, and as time passes, your expression and your reality will certainly mimic this freedom of this wide path. Consider the dark sort of impinging on this wide path that's always been quite wide, very wide indeed, and white, and glowing, and pretty. It's always been there. Yes, there was some new construction, this is true. But, perhaps we say the purpose for the path has always been there. And now, it's all lit up and pretty. But to walk this path, it is an illuminated path, and so you have your eyes open, and you can see the cost and the benefit for doing certain things. And this may come upon you as a vision for something that may happen in the future. And you may be given the chance to say yes or no. Well, this is what we want to talk about with reality creation, and then we end, okay? It's very important. Yes, you may be given a vision. And in a flash, oh my, this is not me being a victim to this, where I'm just getting advanced warning of an emergency. I'm being given a choice here. And then you see, this is what would happen to get me there, and this is what would happen afterwards. If this accident happened, or this illness, or this death, or this whatever is being given you as an option. And then, this is what happens if I don't. And then you decide. That's a bit different than lying in your bed at night wondering if something awful is going to happen tomorrow. And both realities are available. They coexist, and both are valid. Both are helpful, significant, meaningful, true. But one creates more dissonance than the other. The truth is, that's what we show her. Hold on. When it comes to reality creation, and we say you've got this long band of white light come in, placeholders removed, wild cards afoot, all bets off. No karma applies, preference only, divine timing, ancient plans, new plans, creativity, all these things. Oh my, a lot to play with, a lot to play with. Walking this middle path, well, you can be sucked in. You can be sucked in. You can be reminded of how unworthy you are, how much of a failure, how much of a disappointment. Oh, these things can gnaw at you. But sooner or later you realize that they don't have any juice. Yes, they're ghosts and they rattle your chains, but they're ghosts. Because here you are, on this middle path, aware of things, suddenly. And perhaps they come to you as they came to the one before you in the middle of a movie trailer. She feels a release and a redemption, a humility, and a great love as she watches this thing. And a pain in the heart is gone. It is gone. Well, we want to offer you these gifts too. This is part of what is lit up, you see. Do you really think in terms of a job? Can you not think of bigger things? Of the ache in your heart, of the regrets in your soul, of the misunderstandings that keep rolling no matter how hard you think them through. The things that stand in the way of you connecting to a person you love very, very deeply, or someone you want to know. These disconnections in people's lives. And not feeling loved or supported by, the government, your representatives. You see, it's simply a reflection of how people are feeling in their own homes. Yes, in their own homes. And the things they have seen played out, that they no longer want to play out. Well, isn't it very nice that we have someone who's willing to behave so badly, and he is able to show everyone that there's a different way, and that it is within each. Oh, hey, I really am decent after all. I would never behave that way. Ha! This is a beautiful little gift that's being given from all the misbehavior. So the middle way is also the way of the trickster at times. There can be no humor without a flip, There can be no release without a flip. This is why paradox is seen as a tool and a manifestation of creation and creative energy. Certainly. They are very true words. Oh. We love it when people come, they buzz us. We know who it is, so we're not going to answer. However, we do take note of who calls. There have been times when we have been channeling, when job offers have been coming in, when people from production companies have called. Perhaps they were wrong numbers. Perhaps they were only interested for a moment. Perhaps it had been a curious thing for them to call at that time. But there it is. And so yes, we will return that phone call, and it's fine. There's no need to discuss right now. It will be taken care of. That's very nice. So we wish to discuss this this upcoming energy in terms of the three ways too, because it is very fine to become more sensory oriented. The thing is that the geometry is quite imprisoning, and then it's sticky, and it has something to do with you have to deal with the language of anger and fear and doubt and all these things and all the stuff that is part of that agreement field, okay? And so to sink into that, You must do it on your own terms, is what we are saying. Right? If you want to play, go play. Remember who you are as you put on your costume. And then this higher path of, hey, I don't think I'm going to check in with humanity today because I want to bliss out and spin. Well, okay, that's not bad for anybody. Neither is acting out. But there's the middle way where you are doing what you are doing deliberately and for the highest good of all. And that is not just some wish, but it is the reason for action. And this is what has certainly not been appropriate before, and what is coming about as things come online. Because now we're going to be seeing a little bit of a split within the group, because we are done with the first phase of this awakening process within the first wave, and what we'll be seeing is the second wave. And we must be very aware as a group that we are not squabbling. Okay? No one can do it wrong, and there is no competition. The minute that we start thinking about that doing it right or doing it wrong, where there's a spiritual competition, where are you? Where have you just sunk down there? So we wish to talk about the dimensions because it's been coming up a great deal, and then we quit. Second dimension, yes, we are talking about when we talk about dimensions again, we had this one, do it, and we want you to review the dimension tape if you wish to learn more about dimensions, okay? So, second is expressed in the first. Fourth is expressed in the third. Sixth is expressed in the fifth. Eighth is expressed in the seventh. 10th is expressed in the 9th. 12th is expressed in the 11th. And then there is the 13th. Okay? So, second, well, that is a consciousness field, yes. It's a consciousness field, yes. And it is something that, okay, in this instance, there's a paradox. It's quite holy, and we wish not to discuss it too much, but it is a paradox, is what we're saying. And so, what that means, light appears dark, and dark appears light. Up appears down, and down appears up. And it's not the field beyond right and wrong. It's what you have to go through before you get to right and wrong. Do you understand? The second is very primal and sticky, simple. Magnetically, it is imprisoning, and indeed, there is usually quarantine. This quarantine had to be broken, Just finally time, but there had been a break in things, and because of that, the energies had to be reworked, and it was finally time to do this. So there you go. When we say the quarantine is lifted, do you think it's just around your planet? No, it's within your minds and heart, dear ones. So the second and the first, when they're not the friendliest places, yes? And part of your consciousness has always been there because it had to be. It had to be locked away. It had to be. And we could go into great detail about that, but in fact we already have. And we say that now it's time to rescue, it's time to bring people home. You have been of great help to many people in many vibrations and much. And so you bring in this darkness and you realize, well, you were always bigger than that. And you were quarantined because you were waiting to become a big sequoia. And now it's time to say thank you to all of the mushrooms, and to let them finally have the medium they need, and to all the poison leeches from them now, and all the magic increases. Isn't that pretty? So this is the idea And so when you think about the dimensions, well, this middle path, can the middle path access the all, the 13? Well, yes, there's a superhighway express thingy right on the middle of it. And it's a band of expression or reality, that's all. And so what is happening is that the band is shifting up. You can think of it as a pearl on a string, and you're just going whoop, up one. So it would appear at this point, oh well, look at, I'm moving into so much white light. Well, yes, but from once you get there, it will not look like an expanse of nothing. It will be populated. The point of the point of the vision is to say there are things waiting that you cannot see right now, you cannot appreciate them right now, that are filled with light but are invisible. And then we gave the picture of the rectangle holding the place and saying the white light is bursting away because the placeholders have been taken away. You know what a placeholder is? It's a pursuit that is habitual. It takes up your time. It's a thought that shackles you. It's a pursuit that weakens you. It's things that you won't die from, but you certainly are wasting your time. But you're holding space. You're just wasting time. It's a placeholder. So it just means that there's a new reality to come, and then when you are there, is it a new reality? No, it's that day, right? So we must put this into linear reality and make it possible to live with. It means that you're moving into a light-filled area, and that is a good thing. It's something to be happy about, because that means there's more love and there's more information. Love is what light is, and its information is lovely. Oh, it's so pretty, and it feels good. Okay, so there's more of that. What's there to worry about then? Nothing. There's someone in the middle path dipping down. So this is how we close. This is the vision we gave, the little rectangle. This is the rectangle. This is the placeholder. And this is the problem. This is a problem. Creating a reality in your head based on what you would say are facts that are irrefutable, undeniable. And then thinking about it and scaring yourself with not wanting it, creating it. Or so you think. Perhaps you are just doing an exercise to show yourself this, okay? It doesn't mean if you're worrying on cancer that you're going to magnetize cancer because you have such a strong brain. It doesn't work that way. Perhaps you are being shown something, and you may feel gratitude flood you that you don't get cancer. Okay, did you heal yourself? Well, maybe. But do we have to think in terms that are so dark? What's going to happen to me? I'm going to lose my house. My spouse will get the cancer. I will have bad things happen to me. Oh my God. Do we need to go there? Oh, get to the base of it. Get to the base of it when that comes up. Oh, you have idle time and you go right to that, to disaster and despair. What are you sad about? What are you losing? What do you need to grieve? Oh, come here, dear one. You're so sad today. Perhaps looking at yourself like that might help, yes? And so this is the idea. The middle way. Well, it can all look like shadow and light at first. And a middle way, you have a lot of room to roam. You can go very low, very high indeed. Okay, with dimensions, the higher you get, the harder it is to connect with the lower. Okay, and so someone who is super fragilistic, very, very advanced, will only be able to connect with someone at a very low frequency through the heart, through humility and sincerity and love. It's the only language that works when there's a dimensional gap like that. And this is what is going to be occurring with people. There'll be those who are going to move up into more abstracted realms as the operating place, and it will not be painful to be around people who are not there, but there will be more love. It's the only language that works when there is a significant enough jump in the energetic where we see bands and we see signatures and frequency. We see so much. It is such a jumble. Oh my! It's a lot, and we would like to just take a bath and let it all roll. Such 4114. It's such a long tape, but so required right now. So required. We hope we have been clear about this, and the things that remain unclear, why? They're supposed to be unclear. Some will listen to this and they'll be bored with it. They'll think, oh my God, this woman, she's not advanced. She doesn't even understand blah, blah, blah. And they will be correct. There will be those who will listen and be enraged because it is so esoteric and so not understandable, and it's like an assault, and it's like you're stupid because it's so advanced. There will be those who will listen and say, well, that's helpful, but that doesn't apply to me. There'll be those. And there'll be those who will listen and say, oh my God. No one else has ever said these words. I need to learn more about what she was talking about America, blah, 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 blah. Okay? That's how it works. It don't matter how many viewer, don't matter how many reader. It matter you're here now, listening, watching, and loving. Okay, namaste.